I finally got my way and got what I wanted. For 32 years, I had been asking Robert to take me on a proper vacation. Not the quick weekend trips to see his mother in Pennsylvania, or the rushed fishing expeditions with his buddies from work. I wanted something different, something just for us. A quiet place where we could walk barefoot in the grass and watch the sunset without checking our watches. Robert was a good man. He worked hard at the hardware store downtown for almost 40 years. He provided for our family and never complained. But he was also stubborn as an old mule and set in his ways. Every time I mentioned a real vacation, he would pat my hand and say we would go next year when things settled down. Well, things never settled down. There was always something. The roof needed fixing. Our daughter Elizabeth needed help with her college tuition. Then the grandkids came along and Robert said we needed to save for their education fund. I loved my family with all my heart, but somewhere along the way, I had stopped asking for what I wanted. Then last spring, something changed in me. Maybe it was turning 65. Maybe it was seeing my friend Dorothy's husband pass away before they ever made it to the beach house they had been planning to visit for 20 years. Whatever it was, I decided I was done waiting. I sat Robert down at the kitchen table one Saturday morning after breakfast. The sunlight was streaming through the yellow curtains I had made decades ago. I poured us both coffee and looked him straight in the eye. "Robert," I said, "we are going on vacation this summer. Just you and me. Somewhere peaceful with fields and open sky. I have already looked at places and I found a little cottage we can rent in Virginia. It has a porch swing and a garden." Robert started to speak, but I held up my hand. "I know what you are going to say. I know there are always reasons to wait, but honey, I do not want to wait anymore. I want to walk around without my shoes on and feel the grass between my toes. I want to sit with you and watch the fireflies come out at night. I want to remember what it feels like to have nowhere to be except right next to you." Robert looked at me for a long moment. Then his eyes got a little misty, and he reached across the table and took my hand. "You are right, Helen," he said quietly. "You have always been right." So we went. We drove down to Virginia in early June when the weather was just starting to warm up. The cottage was even prettier than the pictures. White clapboard with blue shutters and a wraparound porch. There were wildflowers growing all around it, and the nearest neighbor was half a mile away. That first evening, we sat on the porch swing and did not say much. We just rocked back and forth listening to the birds settling in for the night. Robert held my hand the way he used to when we were young. I felt something loosen in my chest that I had not even realized was tight. The next morning, I woke up early. Robert was still sleeping. I could hear him breathing deep and steady the way he always did. I got up and put on my cotton nightgown and walked outside. The grass was wet with dew and cool under my bare feet. I walked slowly around the cottage, feeling the earth beneath me. The sky was turning pink and gold at the edges. Everything was so quiet, so peaceful. I walked past the vegetable garden the owner had planted. There were tomatoes just starting to ripen and rows of green beans climbing up their poles. And there at the end of the row was a single banana plant. It looked a little out of place among all the traditional garden vegetables, but there it was with its broad green leaves catching the morning light. I smiled to myself. Someone had planted something unexpected, something that probably would not even fruit in this climate. But they had planted it anyway, because they wanted to, because it made them happy. I heard the screen door creak and turned to see Robert coming down the porch steps. He was in his pajamas with his gray hair sticking up funny. He looked sleepy and confused. "What are you doing out here without any pants on, Helen?" he said. I looked down. I was indeed walking around in just my nightgown, which came to my knees. I started to laugh. Robert started to laugh too. We stood there in that dewy garden at sunrise laughing like a couple of kids. "I wanted to feel the grass, Robert," I said. I wanted to wake up and do something just because I wanted to. He walked over and put his arm around me. We stood there looking at that banana plant together. "You know what, Helen," he said. "I am glad you made us come here. I did not realize how much I needed this until right now." We spent a week at that cottage. We took slow walks down country roads. We sat on the porch and read books. We cooked simple meals and ate them at the little table by the window. We talked about our kids and our grandkids. We talked about the early years when we did not have 2 nickels to rub together, but we were happy anyway. One afternoon, Robert said something that surprised me. He said, "Helen, I am sorry I made you wait so long. You have spent your whole life taking care of everyone else, and I should have taken better care of you." I squeezed his hand. "We took care of each other, Robert. That is what marriage is. But I am glad I finally spoke up. I am glad I said what I wanted." On our last morning, I walked around the house barefoot one more time. I wanted to remember the feeling. Robert came with me. We stopped by the banana plant and I touched one of its leaves. "That is us," I said to Robert. "That banana plant does not belong here according to all the rules. But someone planted it anyway because it brought them joy. We spent so many years doing what we were supposed to do, following all the rules, working hard, being responsible. But maybe it is okay to plant a few banana plants too. Maybe it is okay to do things just because they make us happy." Robert nodded. He understood. We are in our late 60s now. We go back to that cottage every summer, and every time I walk around without my shoes on, feeling the grass and the earth beneath my feet, I look at that banana plant which somehow keeps growing even though it probably should not. And I remember that it is never too late to ask for what you want. It is never too late to choose joy. Sometimes the smallest acts of courage are the ones that change everything. For me, it was finally saying out loud that I wanted something just for myself, that I wanted to walk barefoot in the grass and feel alive again. I got my way. I got what I wanted, and it was even better than I imagined because Robert was right there beside me enjoying it too.